All right, it's time for another 5 minutes. Today, joining me is another good friend. It's Jeff Bowe. You know him as the Assistant Sports Information Director over at CMS and also a colleague of mine at Black Dog Hockey. Jeff, thanks for joining us. Good to see you. What's our topic today?
Thanks for having me, Eric. As you can tell, it's something that's close to my heart. It's something that's a little bit of an obsession, but UCLA, USC, we know about the hated rivalry. We know about the crosstown shootout in multiple sports. I think we're going to talk about just football today. I think that's what we agreed upon. But I've seen more baseball and basketball as of late, so maybe we'll touch on that a little bit too. But, over the history, I've been to probably about, divide 29 by 2? Somebody else who does good math. I've been to that many UCLA USC football games during my time having season ticket holders. And so we're going to talk about, the hated rivals because we're both on the other side of the fence from one another in this topic.
Yeah, that's true. It's amazing we get along. Clearly, I'm unprepared as far as my wardrobe is concerned, but let's go ahead and do this. It's 5 minutes. We're going to talk SC UCLA football. All right, so we're going to talk our favorite moments. You've been to a lot of the games. I've been to one, so I'm going to throw that one out there, but I'll let you go first. You're the guest here today.
Well, about 13-9. We were all Bruin fans in tears after that. But the 13-9, before the 13-9, even though it was kind of a battle of, two lesser opponents, I guess. UCLA was good. USC was reeling at the time. It was during the 90s when USC had a coach that you know about that wasn't very good and didn't have a great run. And we had a quarterback who should have been a Heisman Trophy winner by the name of Cade McNown. And this thing went double overtime, and it ended with an interception in the back of the end zone. And Cade McNown helped the Bruins come away with a huge victory. It was probably the biggest victory of the 8 games they won in a row, a 48-41 win in 1996, November 23. All I remember was that it was 2 days after my birthday, and it was the best birthday gift I've ever had in my entire life. But I was laying down in pain on our metal flat seats that the Rose Bowl used to have in the alumni section because I maybe have overexerted myself rooting for UCLA to win that one just a little bit.
Well, hopefully the win took the pain away. And
it did. And that was not the first or last time that I have suffered pain at the hands of the UCLA Bruins, both good and bad. So
yeah, it
was a great victory. It's something I'll remember forever.
That's the only time they've ever gone to overtime in the entire history. That's the only overtime game they've ever played.
And they went 2.
And they went 2. Yeah, you got bang for your buck in that one.
Yeah, and just the performances all around that team. I mean, I believe Deshaun Foster was a part of that one. It might have been Skip Hicks, actually. That was the running back then. And just some great names. Jonathan Ogden was around that time, and just the throwback curly Q jerseys that I have to my right over here.
You came prepared.
Yeah, I did. I set it up literally 2 minutes before we started this thing. So, and threw on, the New Age one as well. So
you did. I left my Cardinal and Gold in the closet. I probably should have thrown it on.
I thought you were going to be donning it. I really did.
I thought about it, but I didn't have anything that looks as nice as that. I've really worn some things ragged, so I decided not to do that.
That seems to be a consistent problem with USC logos to, have things that don't look as good as UCLA. But
there it is. The first shot thrown here, and he knows he only has 5 minutes. I'm glad he got one in right around the halfway point.
Well, you got to. I know we haven't seen each other in quite some time, and the digs have been mounting. So
it has been a minute. I'm glad you could get it out here today. All right, the 2 that I'm going to throw out. One of them is kind of a moment that I think both teams enjoyed, and that's going back to when they decided to bring the home jerseys back into the fray, right? I think it was 2008, that game, when they decided we're both going to wear our home jerseys, and USC, the game was at the Coliseum, and Pete Carroll's like, we'll take a timeout penalty. I don't care. And Rick Neuheisel, in his first year as Bruins head coach, said, you know what? I'll take a timeout. Who cares? And I think it was a nice bonding moment between the two schools that show you that football is important to us. Doesn't matter how good one school is at the time. Like, this is a we thing, and they came together. I love that. That one really sticks out for me.
At the time when they decided to do that, I wasn't happy.
Wow.
At all. I didn't want USC wearing their home jerseys on our field because if you remember, UCLA USC used to share the Coliseum back in the day, and we had to play UCLA had to play on a Sunday or a Friday, and USC's colors would shine right through our beautiful blue and gold. And so we didn't enjoy feeling like we were guests in our own home stadium. So I thought, oh, great, now they get to wear their jerseys in our stadium again. But over the years, like you said, it's really been a good sportsmanship thing, and it's brought LA together. I think it's kind of lessened the rivalry to a certain extent. People don't hate each other as much as they used to in this UCLA USC rivalry, and everything it's because they just have that mutual respect, and I think the jerseys had a little bit to do with it. So okay. I really do.
The other memory that I want to bring up here, we're already down to a minute to go, by the way.
Oh, geez.
When
running out of time.
It was the game the next year, the 2009 game. It's the only game I've ever been to in the rivalry. I know, terrible fan.
Yeah, you are.
I haven't missed a game since I was, I don't know how tall, but it was when USC was up 21-7. There was under a minute to go. They had it at the UCLA 48-yard line. Neuheisel calls a timeout thinking he's going to get it back. Matt Barkley to Damian Williams, 48 yards with 52 seconds left. Trojans win 28-7. And it was at the end zone I was sitting behind. So, my buddy was going nuts. Oh, that one for me, as far as on our side thing, was what a great way to end my first game at the Collie.
It's funny how the USC victories turn into like mottos. Because I just remember, if you would have just said timeout touchdown, I would have known exactly what you were talking about. Because everything USC does to beat UCLA turns into, 50-0 or timeout touchdown or whatever, because it's an embarrassing moment for UCLA. And they continued, even last year was embarrassing as well. So, and we've had a few embarrassing years now, but yeah, I remember that one. I also remember a certain UCLA receiver tipping the ball right to a defensive back who took it the other way. And that really started the momentum towards the Trojans in that game. And obviously 13-9 at the Rose Bowl. I was at that one as well. Another game where I ended up having a really bad headache from cheering too loud. That's one of the games that I'll always, have in the back of my mind, and that interception to end it was one of the greatest things that, I've seen at the Rose Bowl from a Bruin team that, again, we haven't had a lot of great history of winning games in the Rose Bowl in quite some time over big opponents. And that was a huge victory over a very good USC team at the time. So a little depleted, but still very good. And that was, and then Brett Hundley came along and, he did very well against USC and made us feel very good about ourselves for a few years. So.
Well, there you go. And this has been a very special edition of 6 Minutes.
We're done?
With Jeff Bowe.
That's it?
6 minutes.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like we need at least 4 more minutes.
Oh, Jeff Bowe, thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for having me, Eric.